So I remember one time I sat down to do some work and I had this weird urge to just fap, just watch some porn and fap. And in my own head I was like, no, just ignore it, don't fucking do it. But of course, you know what happens. You get steered in slowly, you're like, okay, just one picture, okay, just one video, and then it steers you in. And so growing up, I wasn't exactly the most productive person you could see. I'd try to fucking do the work, but then I'd get distracted by some random shit. I'd try to like do this certain work and then I'd end up doing just the easier work. And I never really understood why this happened to me up until I read this book. And then after reading this book, I became so much better and more productive. I started actually being able to sit down and just do the work. Here I am, and I'm doing the work right now. And I did the work even before this. And I did the work yesterday and before yesterday. And I always did the work I intended. And so this book has tremendously helped me to be able to get to this position. This book is the 21 ways to stop procrastinating and actually get the work done. The book starts off with a great introduction telling us about a concept of if you had to eat a frog, if you had to eat two frogs, it probably would be wise for you to eat the bigger and more uglier frog first, and then eat the smaller, less ugly frog. And it probably wouldn't pay off to just sit there and start looking at the frog just like that before eating it. So it wouldn't make sense for you to just sit there and be like, oh yeah, like I'll eat the frog, but I need to look at it. Now replace the word frog with your task. If you had two tasks, you would do the uglier one first. And if you wanted to do a task and get it completed, wouldn't be wise to just keep looking at it like that. And so this book already starts off in a very big way. And this principle that I've just literally said to you is called Eat That Frog, the title of this book. And it only continues to go on from here. So how do you go actionable with this? So basically what I would really do with this, I'd go in autistic steps. How do you implement Eat That Frog in your life? Well, there are quite simple ways. The first way is just simply marking a spot in your day to basically, so I mean, we're going to talk a bit more about this, but you need to have some kind of timetable system. Just some way to know exactly what task is going to go first, second, then after that, and then what are you going to be doing throughout your day. And so you would be wise to do the hardest task you've got today, which you probably should know your task list, we're talking about a bit later, but the hardest task you will have, you will simply do first thing in the morning. The first thing that you will be doing is eating the frog, which is doing your hardest task first. And that is the number one way to implement this. And so what do I do? How do you go actionable? For me, recording videos is my frog because it gets me all dried up. I can't really record videos when I'm brain dead or I've eaten some carbs and shit. And so it only makes sense for me to actually record videos as soon as I wake up. And so today I woke up at about 4:45 a.m. because of Ramadan and stuff. And so I basically just got up and immediately I placed this camera here and I just started recording. I literally just woke up. And so I just placed this camera here and I started recording. And so it only really makes perfect sense here. You do your hardest task. Let's just say it's sending 1,000 cold emails. Okay, well you do that as soon as you wake up. You do your hardest task. So let's say your priority is school, for example. You would simply set the school bag right here. You wake up earlier, you probably set the bag somewhere, and then you would just start studying exam papers. That's the best way to study for exams. You just revise old exam papers and basically see your mistakes, adjust and do other exam papers. And if that's your most important task that you want to work on, and that's your hardest task, you do that thing first thing in the morning. Now, how do you identify the hardest task? Well, it's just about basically doing all those tasks to some degree to be able to actually understand, okay, this task is probably much harder. So, I mean, for me, it's recording is much harder than editing. I can edit the video basically when I'm brain dead and I'm loaded with carbs. but I can't really record when I'm loaded with carbs and shit. And so I stay fasted when I first wake up. And I just record this video, no carbs, no nothing. I just splash this video out. And then I go out and I start editing it, but more casual, drinking my tea and stuff. And so, really, it's just the key fundamental to understand is you need to be eating the frog. You need to be implementing this. And the author, like Brian Tracy says, if there's one thing you'll take away from this book, it's this. Always eat the frog. No matter what it is, you will eat the frog for the rest of your life. Every single day you will wake up and you will do the hardest task first. You don't go scrolling on your Instagram. You don't go changing the channel profile if you're a YouTuber. You don't just I don't know what it would be for an agency. Just don't be doing like lame, boring tasks. Eat small frogs that don't matter. Eat the big frog first. And then you can go into smaller ones. Like there's this concept of brain points. And basically this concept just says, the more you keep running, so like basically you start your day with about like, let's say 1,000 brain points or something, right? Throughout your day, you spend those brain points by doing the simplest and most easiest tasks, but then each task requires a certain amount of brain points. So recording is like maybe like 100, but then like scrolling is probably 5. And so it's like, it isn't exactly that much, which means it'll basically just start sapping away from like your potential, which then means, oh wait, you can't even do the work right now because you don't have brain points enough for it. So if you wanted to record in the night, but you've been scrolling, you've been eating, you've been doing all these things, your 1,000 is gone, and you don't even have like 100 to just record. So it's like basically just it's about giving the highest priority task the most attention, basically right off the bat. So now for the 21 ways to stop procrastinating. The first principle is simply setting the table. And so how do you go about setting the table? Well, you first got to know your direction. And so the first thing he mentions is you need to decide what you want. Like, what do you genuinely want? Do you want to focus on money? Do you want to focus on fitness? Do you want to focus on relationships? What is it that you want? As soon as you figure out what you want, your goal, your destination, your ultimate task, you write it down. Then he simply says you need to set a deadline on that goal, which means if I said my goal, what I wanted was to get to 10K a month, I'd set a deadline on that. So by the end of this year, I would need to be on 10K a month. I mean, obviously, like that's a very hard goal, but you'd be setting a deadline. It doesn't have to be like from the next year. It could be like next 2 years, 3 years, or the next 6 months. Set a deadline, just set a time that you have to finish the goal in. And then after that, the author goes on to tell you that you need to write a list of everything you can think of that you would need to do in order to actually get to that goal. So kind of like milestones. You need to you need to have like this certain amount of audience in order to actually funnel them into a school in order to actually make some money. And so like your plan is kind of in your head, okay, like I'll grow the audience, I'll funnel them to a school, and then I'll make the money. Or like for an agency, I'd send 1,000 cold emails, I'd like daily basically, and then I just start getting some people reaching out to me, chiropractors, and then I'd help chiropractors scale. And so you would basically be like, you'd basically just be having the things that you would be needing to do more so on a regular basis, and then weekly, and then monthly, and then maybe even like yearly if it's going to be a really long goal. And you would just think of what are the things I'd be needing to do to actually like get to that goal. And you would just simply like have those in your mind. And then once you have them in your mind, all the tasks you can think of, you can even write them down. But then you would simply go into organizing them into a plan of action. So you would basically have, I mean, I wish I could just go inside. The issue is like my parents are fucking asleep. I wish I could I just want to show you my action plan. But it's basically just like, it's very straightforward. You just want to have the goal, and then you want to have like weekly, monthly, and like yearly, or like maybe just like something like daily tasks. And you would just basically like write those daily tasks down. You would more so write some milestones or some key stuff that you probably will have to like adjust and like fix throughout the journey. Just kind of more so keep it a bit more simple and really try to just make it as understandable as possible. Have like some kind of description on it. Have like prerequisites. Do you need to accomplish some certain goal in order to actually accomplish the big goal? Like what are those like goals or goal? Like just basically know what you need to be doing. Have this plan of action. These are steps really to making this plan of action. Once you've got the plan of action, you need to be taking action immediately. Don't wait. Don't say I'll start tomorrow, whatever. As soon as you have this plan of action right in front of you, and you can just look at there and you can read words on there on what exactly you need to be doing, that is exactly what you need to be doing. Start now, start doing that shit, and just take action almost immediately. And more than anything, just resolve to doing something every single day that will move you forward and toward the major goal. So now for planning tomorrow or the future in advance. So basically, the author kind of talks about how you would plan all your future stuff that you want to be doing. So in the future, I want to have the Lamborghini. In the future, I want to be getting 10K a month. In the future, I want to have a beautiful feminine woman. In the future, I want to have an aesthetic physique. You would just write down things that you would want to be having or certain goals that you want to achieve in the next future. Then the author talks about how you need to be making a monthly list of just simply things that you would be doing in order to actually move you toward that goal. So basically just a monthly list. Okay, go to the gym, hit an ultra workout so you'll make sustainable gains and stuff like that with friends and stuff. Basically just monthly tasks. And make sure that all those tasks move you toward those goals and they're not just some random tasks. So just genuinely some stuff you would be doing monthly in order to actually move you toward those future goals. And then you basically transfer the monthly into more so weekly. So you have the weekly, basically just the weekly stuff you would have to do in order to move you towards that goal or those goals. And you simply want to just plan the entire week ahead. You simply just transfer your weekly list onto your days. So you basically you have this weekly list of things you want to be doing. You just transfer that onto every single day. Now I'll just throw this disclaimer right out. I didn't even do this myself. This whole process of just setting stuff, I just kind of I just plan every day ahead. I don't really look at the monthly milestones and whatever, and just I go more so into weekly and stuff. Sure, some person might do this and benefit. I personally just don't like having too much sophistication and shit. I just kind of like to be more so free and know exactly okay, this is my direction. I'll work toward it every single day. I don't need to have some kind of ultra future plan or whatever, and I want to have this and that and that. Of course, that it's good having this vision of exactly what you want in the future. It's more so better off to more so just it's just go about it more freely, it going about it with such a strict action plan of implementing that onto your days. It does work. Issue with that is it kind of deprives you of the mental health and mental stability, and so it's for me at least, that's not really worth the risk or worth the pain that I'll be going through, and so I might as well just do it as I enjoy it. So now for the 80-20 rule, something that will benefit you for the rest of your life. This is genuinely one of the things that if you take away from this book, it will truly it is just so fucking good. So let's just jump right into it. What is the 80-20 rule? Well, it's basically a rule that states that 20% of the activities will account to 80% of the results. So think about this. Only doing about 20% of the activities, so let's say 5 tasks, only one of those 5 tasks will actually give you about 80% of the results that you seek. So basically, if you've got recording and then editing and then scripting and then uploading and then I don't know what other task you might do, thumbnail or whatever, only one of those tasks is actually going to get you 80% of the results. And think about it really, which one of these is actually going to be the better task that's actually going to move you forward? It's probably not going to be making the thumbnail. It's probably not going to be the editing the video. Editing certainly helps. You can't skip it, but it's probably not the thing that will get you 80% of the results. And so it's more so likely that it's recording the video itself. Because when you think about it, recording the video is the main thing. They're going to be watching the video, which means the video is the 80%. And so you would be wise to do 80%, you would be wise to just basically do 20% of those activities that will get you 80% of the results. Now, of course, for some circumstances, this cannot be avoided. Some tasks you just can't be doing. But then in other cases, it is. So, for example, how do I use this in my day-to-day life? I use this for school. I don't like school. I don't want to be putting too much effort into school. I don't give a fuck about school, okay? I want to focus on my business. And so I focus on my business and I put all my time into that. But for school, to be able to maintain shit, I just do 20% of the tasks that get me 80% of the results. And so what is that? Well, it's just as simple as, like what is it really for school? Just studying like the exam, just reading the exam so I'll know like what I'll actually have. And then just going there and actually like getting the exam. That's it. I don't do homeworks. I don't like highlight books or whatever. I don't even focus in classes. It's just I do what I have to understand the book, and then I just go and like write out the book basically like in their fucking exam paper. And this mindset of like I can do 20%, only like one task out of five, and manage to get like basically 80% of the results. I mean like perfectly correlates, because guess what? I do 20% of the tasks, and my average is in school is 80%. It's like 80 out of 100. And so literally it's like it perfectly correlates. It's just brilliant. And so for an area that you don't really like, you just don't want to be growing out, you want to be more so putting it on maintain, it would be wise to actually put it into the test of 80-20 and doing 20% of the tasks that get you 80% of the results, which thereby actually pushes you to actually be like, basically the 20 other percent will account to the other 80%, which don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Now, of course, if you're actually maximizing this area, it would be wise to do those other 80. It's just, you can go a long way just doing the 20. Now, of course, the 80 still is necessary, but that's only necessary for growth, not exactly necessary for maintaining. And so that's exactly what I do, or how I implement this in school. Now, of course, there are other ways to implement this, like in testosterone optimization, you would go for like 20% of the things that will get you 80% of the results. So just basically things that you use more so commonly. So for example, you like use this pen way too much and it's just plastic, you just keep it on you and it's like plastic. Okay, probably would be wise to just swap it out for a metal one, and then the metal one is actually better. Used a plastic mouse for like 5 hours every single day, it would be wise to swap it for a metal mouse. It's like just changing these small things in your life. Clothes that you're basically getting contact with clothes 24/7, probably would be wise to not wear like polyester. Just basic things really. Try and just always have this rule in mind. Whenever you're trying to implement stuff, whenever you're trying to do anything, it would be wise to actually keep this rule in mind and perhaps use it on most of things in life. So for the third one here, it's just about consequences. And the author first goes into talking about specific rules that you want to always keep in your head. So he first talks about how long-term thinking improves short-term decision making. And so basically he goes on to tell you that you need to be always thinking long-term, because when you think long-term, your short-term decision-making, the decision-making you're going to be doing very soon, is going to be much better because you thought long-term, you know exactly, you've had a glimpse of your goal, and so now you can go back to this present period right now and take the perfect decision. And so really it's just as simple as like just thinking long-term, just always think long-term, always have a glimpse in the future. Like, it's just so simple, really. Like, just whenever you're making any kind of decision, just take some moment to look long term, and then you can go back to your short term right now and actually more so just kind of like go into plain mode, implementing all those things. So for the next rule, he talks about how your intention for the future determines what will happen right now and how much accomplishing you will actually do right now. And so basically it's just as simple as always having the right intention to the future that will enable you to actually do the good stuff right now. And so, for example, let's just say this about, for example, a video gamer. A video gamer, if he didn't have the intention of quitting video games and he was just comfortable in his place, well, he wouldn't actually be able to quit, because his future intent is, I'll still be gaming in like the next 10 years. Well, then that means he probably won't be quitting because he doesn't intend to quit. Now, if he changed that and he was like, I want to quit and I'll quit in the next 10 years or in the next year, well, then he's much more likely to actually quit, because that determines his present decision making. It determines what he's going to do today in order to actually move toward that goal. So it's just simply about realizing that your future intention holds way more value than like anything else you might think of, and just more so kind of always having the right like intent and just being like, okay, I intend to reach the 10K a month. I'm not satisfied with where I am today, and I'm willing to work toward the other goal to be able to actually get there and do the fucking hard work. And then finally, he goes into the final rule to tell you there will never be enough time to do everything, because that's the simple truth. Like, there's a reason that the 80-20 rule exists, because you won't be able to have time for everything. There is not enough time for everything. You can't fit in all your tasks all at once in this day and expect that you'll actually get them. And so that's why you have multiple days. That's why you have 24 hours a day. And so that's why you would be spreading all that stuff throughout your week, and you would be actually smart to actually make all that stuff. It's more so all like, it's kind of just understanding that you don't have time to accomplish everything. And so you might as well just leave some tasks unchecked. And it's about just understanding that if you have some just places that are checked in your habit tracker, it's completely fine. Honestly, this is like a rule for life, really. You won't have time to do everything. And that's a simple truth. When you go and travel and you want to have fun, you won't have time for everything. Like, that's just a simple truth. This is like the brilliant example for anything. You won't have enough time to go to this cinema, then watch this event, and then go that night, and then go on that night, and then eat the sushi, and then eat the fucking calamaris or whatever. You won't have time for everything. You won't have space for everything. And so it's just about understanding that, yeah, sometimes you'll miss out on certain things, and that's completely fine. But that's what will enable you to get other things that you are more so working toward. Then now I just kind of want to talk about the questions that he mentioned. So there are some questions that you'd be wise to ask towards your goal. What are my high value activities? So what are your extremely most valuable priority? What is your 20% that gets you 80% of the results? What is your high value activity? For me, it's recording videos. For you, it may be sending 1,000 cold emails. For another person, it may be just uploading editing videos for other people, like a freelancer or a guy that edits videos. For a consultant, it'd just be, having the calls with the people. It's just simply having that kind of framework of what is my high priority activity, and simply keeping that in mind. Another question he asks is, what is the task that only I can do that will basically get me exponential results? And so it's just basically what is the task that only you can do, and that if you do really well, will actually get you some significant amounts of gains, and will basically push you. For me, it's like my team can't really record a video for me, because I'm the face of this channel. And so it wouldn't make sense for my team to record a video instead of me. It's me who records those videos, and I'm the only person who does this. And so that's what pushes our team forward. And then, of course, it's more so just understanding, okay, I'm the main face of this. You're maybe your team, they would be able to send the 1,000 cold emails. And so what can you do that only you can do, that if you do well, will actually get you more results? So for me, this is the thing that gets me the most results. This is the thing that gets our team the most results. And so that's exactly what I do. So just ask yourself this question to kind of understand what are the tasks that only you can do that will push your team forward and that will push you forward. Now, of course, there are some tasks that this is just me. I'm alone. I don't have a team, and that's completely fine. But it's just trying to keep those stuff in mind going forward. And then this question he asks more so when he kind of is choosing some certain things. So, for example, I wouldn't really recommend kind of choosing tasks throughout the day. I'll talk about this a bit more, but basically, he talks about how whenever you have a block of time that you just kind of want to spend on something, it's good to ask the question, what is the most valuable thing for my time right now? What is the thing that will get me the most value for my time right now? And sure, you can ask this question throughout your day. Issue is, it's all brain points. And so it isn't wise to just be choosing that stuff. Basically, you can research this stuff. There's this concept of pilot mode versus plane mode. And for anyone who's smart, they always want to be in plane mode for the majority of the day. And only at the end of the day do they want to go more so in pilot mode to plan the next day, so they'll set the direction for the plane to skyrocket the next day. And so basically what this means is really, you wouldn't be wise to just go plane just go pilot all the time throughout your day. So for example, choosing what snack you want to have, or choosing what task you want to do, it isn't so wise to go into pilot mode consistently throughout the day and just be what do I want to eat? What do I want to wear? What do I do? What do I want to do now? Don't go into full on pilot mode throughout the day, but only go into pilot mode at the end of the day. Because pilot mode isn't the villain here. It's not the bad thing. It's just not good to keep switching between the two modes. And of course, like what does pilot mode or plane mode even mean? Well, pilot mode is simply you more so deciding the certain things you want to be doing. So pilot mode is just the pilot. What does the pilot do? He decides where he wants to go and goes there. The plane only like serves as the vehicle, the thing that will get you there. So basically, it's just almost like the plane is just the thing that moves you forward. It's you going into action mode and just doing shit. And then pilot mode is just simply the indicator and telling you, okay, do this, do that, do this, do that. And then the plane's just simply what does those things. And so you want to be in plane mode for the majority of your day, basically going about your day. So I mean, right before I woke up, I basically planned my day ahead. I said I'll wake up at 4:45 a.m. and I'll record this video. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm right now I'm in plane mode because I'm just recording this video. And so it only makes brilliant sense. You simply need to be planning your day ahead in specific order. And then more so understanding, okay, so this is exactly what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to wake up at this, I'm going to do my frog task, I'm going to be doing this, and then this, and then this, and simply just not having to do that. Now, of course, for some occasions, like, there might be, like, I don't know, like, your father tells you, let's go grocery shopping or something, and you have to go grocery shopping. It's completely fine. Like, your plan doesn't always stick as it is. Like, sometimes there will always, like, be some kind of inconveniences. It's just about having a plan, because having the plan will enable you to be better. And so really, as good as this may seem of a question, I just much prefer the pilot plane analogy and type of just planning your day ahead, like one day before, and just more so going about that. So the author talks about creative procrastination for the next section. He talks about how if you have to procrastinate, you might as well procrastinate in a creative manner that serves your goal. And so he talks about how you're gonna procrastinate if there's some hard task and stuff, but you might as well just decide on what to procrastinate on. So instead of just procrastinating by reading some random book on your shelf, it would be much more wiser to actually choose what is the thing that will actually move me toward my goal. So in the very least, I wouldn't be reading some random book that talks about philosophy while I'm working toward getting to 10K a month, but I'd more so be actually like changing the thumbnail of my channel or like the like thumbnail of my video. That will actually probably help me because I'm like fixing the thumbnail and like there's this weird thing, like there's a finger like that's going out between the two fingers and whatever. So it's basically just like having creative procrastination. You have to procrastinate, you might as well do something like productive. The steps are just simply you choosing what you want to actually like do, like choosing what the task is. Okay, I'm gonna procrastinate on this, and then just simply like doing that thing. Just okay, like I'm gonna procrastinate on actually like recording the video, and I just kind of wanna like, you know, I wanna like make the thumbnails and stuff because, you know, like thumbnails is much easier and stuff. But like really, if you can cut off the procrastination, if you can just do the work and discipline yourself to it, then it's even better. This is just kind of like a pussy advice, you know, at least in my opinion. But it's like you can discipline yourself to do the work. Now, of course, sometimes this will happen, like basically accidentally. You'll just accidentally like catch yourself making thumbnails. And honestly, like it's completely fine. Once you just do that, you just realize, okay, like I'm doing thumbnails. You finish your work, and then you just go back to the more high priority work. It also talks about how you basically discontinuing lower value activities. So you not doing lower value activities will give you your time and your freedom. He basically talks about how like just not doing lower value, like lower, like just lower priority activities will actually just benefit you way more than you think, and will push you and give you more time and more energy to be able to do the good stuff. So now for the ABCDE method, which basically is kind of like a categorization for how much of a priority this task is. So let me just read you out exactly what the ABCDE method means. So for each letter, what specifically it means. So for the A, he talks about how A is something that is very important, a must do. An A task has great circumstances if failed. And having multiple A tasks means putting a rank on each one, which simply means, okay, like one A task is simply the highest priority task above all. And then like 2A is like a bit more less. So it's kind of just like simply understanding that A tasks are basically the highest priority tasks that will like have big consequences if you actually don't do them right and if you fail. And then he talks about how a B task is something that you should do but doesn't have so much consequences. It's kind of like a bit lower than the A task. Then he talks about how C is something that is nice if done, but it doesn't really have any consequences. It's just more so of like a mid-normal thing. And then he talks about how a D task is something that you delegate to someone to focus on more important tasks. So for example, how you do this is, you can very well outsource editing. You don't need to edit your videos yourself. If you have the money, you could just simply like outsource them and give them to your editor, and then your editor will upload, will actually do those videos for you. And so outsourcing would just be a D task. So like if you can outsource this task, it's a D task, and so you can outsource it. Now, of course, like, does that always have to mean that, okay, like you'd outsource it if it's a D task? Not exactly. Sometimes you will do it yourself. And then an E task is simply a task that you can eliminate altogether. So a task that you can basically just like be like, fuck this, I won't even be doing this. It's like, it isn't even like relevant, you know? And he basically talks about how you need to implement this to each and every single task managing system, or like some kind of thing that you do or project that you just basically add this to every single thing you do. So mark every task that you're doing with a certain like tag to this. So A, B, C, D, and E. So now he talks about focusing on key result areas. So what are key result areas? They're simply tasks that you have to do that basically only you can do. And then once you do them, they more so become an input for the person who comes next to actually like fix the work. So what is an example of this? It would just be recording the video. A key result area, or the key result task, would just simply be you like sitting down and recording the video. And that becomes an input for your editor because he has to input that stuff and actually edit that stuff. And then it goes into more so of an output. He then talks about how your weakest result area is basically almost sets the height at which you can use your skills. And so he basically talks about how your weakest result area between your result areas will be more likely like the determiner for how much you will actually be getting results. And so he talks about how you first need to actually identify what are your key result areas. What are the tasks that you, if you did in an excellent manner, would get you the most results and only you can do, which basically like will basically become an input for another person, you know? So you simply just do this like for every task. For every task that you have, you realize what are my key result areas to this task? Like what are my key result areas? Like it's almost like tasks really isn't really like, I wouldn't even do this for tasks themselves. It's almost like just understanding that some tasks are key result areas. He does talk about like writing them down and then grading yourself from 1 to 10 on each key result area and whatever. But honestly, I think it's just about really understanding that there are some high priority and some low priority tasks. And then there's also some skills that enable you to actually be pushing more so forward. And you would be wise to develop your skills like that are actually like key to getting all your shit. And then he obviously like talks about how if you find one like key like result area that if you did in an excellent manner would get you the most results, he basically talks about how you need to be able to find that, and then you would simply just focus on that mostly. So now for the law of 3. The law of 3 states that what are the 3 tasks that will get you the most results in the least amount of time? And so basically this is really useful for almost identifying the key tasks to almost anything. So when you're kind of like more so thinking about like the plan of action, it would be wise to use the law of 3. What are the 3 most important tasks that will get me the most amount of results in the least amount of time? And then just kind of just thinking about that. It's almost like 80-20, but in a different like circumstance, in a different way. But it's more so just kind of thinking about that, just thinking, okay, like what are the like top 3 like tasks that have like that will get me the most results? Okay, for me, it would be scripting the video, recording the video, probably editing the video. Those are probably the things that will get me the most results. Now, of course, recording is the top frog, but those 2 are still important. You still need to have a script, because how are you going to record if you don't have a script? And then also, if you don't edit, well, the video is probably going to be full of just head turns and whatever, and like low quality audio and stuff. And so you need to have those things in check. And he also talks about how you can use this for goals. So what are my 3 most important business/career goals? What are my 3 most important relationship/family goals? What are my most important financial goals? What are my most important health and fitness goals? What are my most important self-improvement goals? What are my most important social/community goals? What are my 3 biggest constraints/problems in my life? So it's just about really realizing what are your top 3 like best things for goals, tasks, projects, whatever it may be, and kind of just always pushing this into every single goal you want to reach. Or it's almost like having like these milestones for the goal, but then it could also just be what are the top 3 goals for direction and like the things that you want to accomplish. He also talks about how the quality of time you put into your work is really what accounts to whether you actually use more time to be able to go there. So the quality of your work, the quality of the thing that you'll be doing. If you're just doing some random work, some random just like stuff that doesn't even matter, that's like won't really be moving you toward the actual thing you need to be doing, well, it isn't really wise to be doing those stuff, because if you do those stuff, it won't move you toward the bigger goal. And so really what he's kind of trying to say here is you want to maximize the quality of your work in order to actually be able to finish the work as quickly as possible, which means you get to have fun. Now, of course, I'm very against this mindset of, oh yeah, work is the villain or whatever, or like, yeah, I hate my work and stuff. I'm like super against that. I hate any person who just like thinks like that, which is like something I quite disagree with Brian Tracy on. It's probably because like he just like thinks of employment and stuff like that. I more so kind of like to think of my work in a positive way, that I'm like, I truly love my work. I truly like, I would do my work for free, and here I am, I'm doing it for free. And so it's like, it's basically like, I love my work, and it's not exactly something that like, I mean, of course I will be getting rewarded for, but I kind of like to think of this as more of work is just something that is purpose. It's, you have to do it. It's like your natural thing to do. You would do it for free, and of course you don't like do it for free because you get money without even asking for it. And so that's the thing about work. You just choose the right work, and it's like most people don't really know how to choose the right work, which is a problem they face. If you want to expand on that, like I'll leave you like my lecture. I did like a lecture on entrepreneurship. I'll probably just like leave it in the description, or like maybe it'll pop up somewhere there. But just check that out, just because it's like, I basically talk about like this whole concept of, okay, like entrepreneurship, business, and whatever it may be, right? And he then goes on to tell you how basically time management is key to any kind of success in life, and so you need to get it right. Now, of course, he doesn't really give you an autistic protocol, so I'll just give you one right now. What I would be doing for this is I would be regimenting every single day out. So basically, how would this go? You would just go on Google Calendar, and you would actually kind of have like, it'll basically just kind of like, you just make time blocks and you plan every single day. Now, of course, you don't need to be doing this every single day. You can have reoccurring blocks, and then you can simply have empty blocks throughout the week where you fill those things up with actual good stuff. So I'll probably just like, I don't know, I'll probably like leave you maybe like a picture or something of like what a Google Calendar would look like for like me and stuff, like what my Google Calendar looks like. You can just kind of like have some kind of inspiration from that. But I think this is more so about actually understanding, okay, you need to be having this Google Calendar, which by then you just follow, and you simply stick to that, and that is your ultimate time management thing that will basically, it's like the ultimate time management technique. And he basically goes on to tell you about the key steps. And so what are the key steps? You just ask those questions, like just ask those questions that I just like read out to you previously. Just ask, okay, like what are my most important, like 3 most important like career goals or whatever. And just kind of write those down, and more so like almost organize them into like, okay, this is the highest priority, and then this is second highest, and then this is like third highest priority. And then you just focus on them like single-mindedly. It's just very simple. It's like almost like goal setting. So this one is one I really like. He talks about how you need to prepare thoroughly before you actually get started on like whatever you're going to be working on. And he says that your workspace is the number one, like it's probably a very big constraint. If you hate how your workspace looks, if it's not organized, if it's all messed up, if you've got like weird ass fucking like rubber thing from their erasers on your desk, it's like you won't want to do your work because you don't feel comfortable at your workspace. And so he says that you need to have a clean and structured workspace. And I go into ultimate steps. I remember like basically a couple of years ago, I would try and like do my work, like my school work, and I just hated how my desk looks because it was just like torn off and it was just shit. And I remember as soon as I like got a new desk, I started studying a whole lot more harder. I started actually doing more work. I started actually focusing on more high priority tasks. And it's so weird. It's just the weird correlation of, yeah, like if I just fix my workspace and if I clean my workspace, I actually have better work. And so he simply talks about how you need to understand the importance of having a clean workspace and really try and always improve your workspace by cleaning it, by changing like maybe like the whole desk because it's broken, maybe like just changing the chairs and stuff, maybe cleaning it every week, just have some kind of thing, adding some decorations and stuff. I literally, like, I talked about a morning chat, like, basically in one of my morning chats, I literally talked about how I literally placed pictures all over my room just of my mentors because I love that. I have a whole bunch of quotes on my walls. I have like just Quran quotes. I also have like a whole bunch of pictures of my mentors, and I have like you literally. I mean, I showed that stuff, like it kind of shows in like some of the like other videos, like just like the two pictures, me and my mentor. And then I probably didn't show you that. Like literally a whole bunch of pictures. Just make your room ultra comfortable. I mean, most of us are like gonna be doing our work in our rooms, unless you're like working a company or 9 to 5 or whatever, or like maybe like you're just an agency or something. Then that's completely separate. But your workspace has to perfectly resemble you. And for me, like my workspace is my room, and so I maximize like the amount of stuff that I put in my room to actually make it brilliant and comfortable and just the place that I want to be at. So now for take it step by step. So Brian Tracy says in this principle basically of how if you're procrastinating on something, it's probably because you see too many things, you're taking too many inputs, and so you think you're going to have to do a whole bunch of complicated stuff, when in reality it's just much more simpler when you dice it down into just steps. And so he says take it step by step. And so how you would go about this is you would first like know a task or like select a task that you're procrastinating on, and then you would simply say, I mean, it's probably not really a task, it's more so of a goal. You're like, there's a goal you're procrastinating on. You would look at that goal and you'd be like, okay, what are the list of tasks that I have to do step by step in order to actually like get there? So like you'd basically say, okay, for like recording this video, oh man, I can't record this video. But what are the mini steps? It's just set the camera, set the lighting, press record, set the script, fucking like make the video. It's just so simple when you dice it down, and yet when you look at, oh, I've got to record a video, that's much more difficult. Now, of course, for a goal, it's like getting to 10K a month. Oh man, like that's so difficult. What are the real like step-by-step stuff? It's just record a video every single day, and then record one full guide a week, and then like make one special thing every couple of months. That's it. Stick to that, you will get 10K a month. Sweet. It's just that simple, and you just dice down like things into simple steps. And so like that's basically how it would go, So really it's just about making steps to your task. Just adding steps to your task. It's just that simple, really. So now for upgrading key skill areas. So key skill areas are basically just your skills. Like what are your key skill areas? They're basically your skills. Your key skill areas, key skills, scratch areas, because it just makes things all too complicated. Key skills, how do you upgrade your key skills? You just learn. And so basically the author says you need to be a lifelong student. You never stop learning. And this is like something that many people don't understand these days, is that you can be a teacher and a student. That's completely fine. Like many people, I was just talking about this to my mother, and I was like just talking to her, and I was like, I was reading the book Steal Like an Artist, and in that book he talks about like the exact same thing. You need to actually you need to have mentors. And I was telling her, like, do you have some kind of mentors, because that will really help you on your journey? And she was like yeah, but I mean I want to be a teacher. And I'm like, yeah, so what? I'm a teacher as well. Like I'm a teacher and I'm a student. Like the two don't exactly contradict each other. They're not a spectrum. You can be both. They're just like states. And you can be in different states in different times of the day. And so you just gotta understand that continuous learning is the minimum requirement for success. If you just want to reach success and you want to barely put any like inputs, just learn, bro. Just learn. And the more you learn, I mean, right now, what are you doing right now? You're literally learning how to be more productive. You're like basically reading this book, just on sped mode. It's just that simple. So really, what are the steps? You just identify what skills do you need to improve. What skills will help you the most in your field or whatever goal you want to reach. And then you simply just focus on those So I mean, like, it's just that simple. Like, really, just know what skills you need to improve, and then make time to actually learn how to improve those skills and improve those skills and make time for them in your routine. That's, I mean, it's just classic shit. So now for identifying the key constraints. Now this is seriously one of my favorite ones in this book. Just because, I mean, truly, people don't understand this. Like, I mean, I was just thinking about this. I was sat here and I was just thinking, man, like, you know, like, I remember in like the old karate gym, and my old captain is like, he's like the guy who has the club, right? The place for the karate. And I was just thinking about how much of a failure he is in business. Like, sure, he's getting some sales, he's getting people who are signing up, but how strange is it that as soon as people reach the black belt, they just leave? Like, I looked at this and it happened in both me, it happened with another friend that I had in the karate gym, it happened with like 7 other people before us, and it just keeps happening on and on. As soon as a person wears a black belt in this guy's club, they basically leave. And I almost analyzed it in my head, and I was like why is this thing happening to him? I was just thinking about like finding the constraint, and I was like, well, it's probably because he just puts first too much pressure on them, and then second is just because they just don't want to reach, like they just don't care about the goal anymore. Like, genuinely, every single person that comes to that karate club is like, I want to reach black belt. As soon as they reach black belt, they're like, okay, sweet, I'm just wearing a black belt on my waist. I could have worn that like 2 years ago and just never had to go through this process. And then it's like, they just realize how pointless it is. They just leave. That's exactly what went with me. I just wanted a black belt. I gained a lot of like skill and fighting and stuff. But then I realized, man, like, it's just a black belt. I mean, it's like it represents your like skill level in this martial art. But really, it like when you make black belt too OP, and then people reach black belt, they're just like, okay, I'm dominating the game. Sweet, what now? And I was just thinking, like, how can I actually, if I was in his shoes, how can I improve this? And I was just thinking, man, why not just make black belt seem too easy, like it's nothing? And it's like, genuinely, like, it's just too easy to figure these things out, and yet many people, many business owners don't know how to do shit about them. And so this is really like, this is an example of a failed business owner who can't even understand what his constraint is. He's losing money, he's losing people, he's losing like clients, just because he can't spot the constraint. And this happens way too frequently. This happens to me. This happens to many other people. This happens to all business owners or all people. You know, like for you, it may be just studying. It may be as simple as, you know, you can't even focus on your studies. You have a key constraint there. Maybe it's just like the book on your shelf that's right in front of you as you study, and then you just want to read that book instead. Maybe it's like your phone notifications, and it's like your phone notifications keep distracting you off your studying. And so it's a smart way to actually get like rid of that. Well, you turn the notifications off when you're studying, or you'd go into disturb mode, or you wouldn't even place the phone in your room as you're studying. It's like there are simple solutions to these constraints, and yet these constraints hold us back. So what is a key constraint? A key constraint is simply a weakness or something that holds you back. So, I mean, he does give this analogy in the book. He says that you can use the 80-20 here. It's kind of like 20% of your basically like 20% of your constraints are external, while like 20 are internal. Like just basically, like, yeah, he talks about like weird shit about it. I just don't really I wouldn't really like go as far as to try and like put like the 80-20 rule here. It's just more so understanding that you need to find the constraint in your areas, and you need to constantly have constant mindfulness. I made a morning chat called A Reasonable Way to Know If You're on the Right Track, and I basically talked about how if you want to know if you're on the right track in your business, in your studies, in your career, whatever you are, you've got to keep journaling. You got to keep journaling. You got to keep writing down. You got to keep asking questions. You got to keep questioning what you are doing. Literally, I was just reading basically, it's like I made like my alchemy of self, and I was reading that outside just now. And one of the like affirmations I'd written was basically that I'm a dissector, and that I dissect like basically my circumstance to know what my constraint is, and I question myself like continuously. And look at all the successful guys. All of them have some way or another to just kind of be able to question themselves and know if they're on the right track or not. And like, this is genuinely OP. This is some OP stuff, you know? How do we go actionable? What are the steps here? Well, you would go as far as to like identify what are your key constraints. You would like journal about this, really. I mean, I just kind of need to mention this. With all the questions that are like in here, you need to actually journal these. So these are good journaling topics. You just bring a sheet of paper and you just start journaling. If you don't know what journaling is, I'll probably just place you on morning chat, something like, I'll just prop up like somewhere right over there. Basically a morning chat about like journaling, fully just explaining what journaling is and shit like that. Just watch that morning chat, I'll probably explain to you exactly how to journal and shit. It's just, you need to journal all these questions. These are all journaling topics. Like this is a rich like video and just journaling topics. So definitely like, I don't know, I'll just place you, I might place you the script just in the description, like just you can copy it on like a Notion doc. I'll probably just like place it in the description. I'll probably like also place the calendar picture there. Yeah, but I mean just for the journaling topics, just actually like, yeah, I mean just watch that video, the morning chat, after you're done with this video. Just it will kind of just like explain to you exactly, okay, like what journaling is, where to write your journaling topics, stuff like that. Just basic stuff. Like just go to that like morning chat after you're done with this video. Let's go back to the steps. So you first identify the key constraints, you like journal that, you know what the key constraints are, and then you basically just try and eliminate the worst ones. So basically it's just about, okay, I'll just tell you a story right now. So basically when I first started focusing on business and I wanted to improve this channel and I wanted to do all that stuff, one of the first things that popped up in my head was I didn't have enough time to record videos. And like this was kind of an excuse to just not record. But as I wanted to improve that stuff, I realized that most of my day went in school and then it was in the gym, like the karate gym. And it was terrible. I know shit. I spent like 2 hours, like 3 hours in the gym, in the karate gym, like 1 hour in like just hitting resistance training, and then 2 hours in the karate gym. And then I had like 8 hours in school. And then I didn't even do my eat that frog task. I just slept more. And I basically then just studied for the rest of the day. And so I didn't have much balance at all. And I didn't know what my constraint was up until I started realizing, what could I eliminate? And this is a question that you'd be asking. What can I eliminate? And I just started asking myself, up until I basically realized, wait, I don't even like karate. It's like, I like it, it's enjoyable. But I just do it for the status. I just do it because, you know, like people there like me, they tell me, oh yeah, look, you're so awesome, you have a black belt and stuff like that. That's why I do it. That's why I go there. And I like, as soon as I realized that, I was like, I'm just going there because I want compliments. And I'm not learning much. I'm certainly not improving that much. And it's like, yeah, it's not all that terrific. And so once I realized that, I was like, okay, like I probably could eliminate the karate altogether and save myself 2 hours where I can record full guides and like script videos and do stuff. And so it's like, with that kind of free mentality, I was able to actually like, I basically was able to just set myself free from all this constraint. And my constraint was simply the karate. And then I started journaling, like, should I leave the karate gym and stuff like that? And I was just starting to write, okay, like, what are the benefits? What are the pros? What are the cons? And then I was like, okay, sweet, this is a good decision. And then, of course, like, my parents didn't agree. Like, it was a long story. Basically, I ended up leaving after that, started going to a normal public gym, and I'm all good. And now I basically have enough time. Of course, I also minimized studying, so I had like a whole 2 hour studying block. Why have all the 2 hour studying block? Just have a 10-minute studying block. That's it. It's just that simple. You have an exam, well, like make it like a 30-minute like studying block. It doesn't require much time, and so it's like you can save yourself much time if, like, that's your constraint. Of course, there are plenty of other constraints that will hit you up. And so it's just about figuring out what your constraint is. So now for putting pressure on yourself. So for this one, it's just more so about almost like deadlines. It's just challenging yourself. You know, like people just go too easy on themselves. They don't want to feel comfortable. Like they don't want to feel pain. They don't want to feel suffering. They don't want to, like, you know, they don't want to get hurt. They don't want to get uncomfortable. And it's quite strange, really, to just see all that pattern in all people. Because they don't just challenge themselves. They don't want the challenging option, and they just want to sit around and do lazy shit. And so basically this is just about pressuring yourself, like actually setting like really unrealistic deadlines. So you have a task of recording this video. I need to record this video by the end of this week. Well, why record it by the end of this week? You record it today. by 8 p.m., if you don't have that video recorded, you're a bitch. And just fucking record that video. Just start fucking beating your ass up, and you'll get it done. Like there's just like quote that says basically, I don't know, like I heard it from my mentor. Basically, like it talks about how whenever you set the deadline is exactly when you're gonna do it. So if you say I'm gonna do it by next week, you're gonna do it by next week. If you say I'm gonna do it tonight, you're gonna do it tonight. If you say I'm gonna do it after a year, I'm gonna do it after a year. That's how it is. That's always how it is. Now, of course, that doesn't mean like if you say I'll be a millionaire and like by tomorrow. That of course that doesn't mean like just don't be stupid with this. But understand that setting deadlines on small tasks will enable you. Like the closer the deadline is, the more likely you're actually gonna like be able to accomplish it. I think it's called like the Parkinson's law or something. This isn't really an eat that frog, but it's like kind of like to mention that just because it is like a good productivity tactic. More than anything, just focus on pushing yourself into like just pressuring yourself. That's kind of like the basic thing here. Just actually put challenge on yourself. Now for pushing yourself into action. So Brian Tracy just says, if you don't want to do an action, even though you know this action is required and you have to do it, you simply do it. Turn your brain off and just do it. Discipline yourself to do it and just do it. You know that you need to study for that exam. Just study it, man. It's like nobody wants to study for that exam. Nobody likes that stuff. Nobody's like actually like looking at that and be like, oh man, I really like this. No one wants to study that exam. Nobody cares. And so it's like, don't think that when you're procrastinating on this, you're the only person and you just don't want to do it and like you can skip it. Don't skip it. You still have to do that work. And of course, like for me, it's like I don't give a fuck, and so I'm not gonna do it because I just don't care about studying. Now, of course, if you want a career and you want to become a doctor or something, you're gonna have to do that. It's like there are no excuses. If this is your work, then this is your work. You need to actually be putting in the work in this. Now, if it's basically just something else, if it's like like recording the video, you don't really feel like recording the video, well then just you have to fucking record it. And so you just push yourself into action. You don't care. Like you turn your brain off and you're like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna do action. For waking up at like 4 a.m., do you think like that's actually very like fucking easy? It's not so easy. It's not as easy as you think. And yet you discipline yourself to do it anyway. Because then you realize, oh wait, like I actually enjoy it. And then as soon as you wake up and you get out of bed and you fix the bed, you actually like you're fine. Your mood's back to normal. It's just that bit of like discipline zone that gets you like, that basically it's like tells you, oh yeah, don't do it, just please don't do it. And then you just, when you push through, you realize, oh wait, this is actually what I need. It's like almost like going to the gym. After a while of going to the gym, it's like you start kind of like wanting to slack off and shit, up until you realize, oh wait, like actually, I don't want to slack off, because it's just like, why should I? And then you push yourself through that, and then you realize, oh man, like this is so good. And so more than anything, just control your mind. Like genuinely, just control your mind. Like this is something that nobody will tell you about on the internet, because basically nobody wants to tell you that you have this superpower. Women don't have this ability, by the way. You have this ability. You can literally control what thoughts appear in your head. You have the ability to control whatever emotion or thought you have. Now for women, they can't really control their emotions. Like it's much harder for them. Now for us, like guys, it's much easier. So for me and you, it's like I can very well just basically, I don't really feel like doing the work. I can just smile and do the work anyway, and I don't feel like doing the work because I just smiled and wanted to do the work. It's like it's a very like placebo like effect weird thing, but it's almost like how we function really. And so it's like abuse this, control your mind and your emotions. When like I mean honestly, it's like you can, like this is a good quote from Chris Williamson. He says, if you can be sad all the time, and you can be sad for no reason whatsoever, you can also be happy for whatever reason. And so it's like you can basically, if you can deliberately make yourself be sad and you can just be like, oh man, I hate my life. You can deliberately make yourself happy. You can be like, yeah, fuck, I love my life. And so it's like, it's just being positive. Basically, it's just controlling your mind and moving it to the positive spectrum that will enable you to put in the work. Now for technology is a terrible master. So basically he talks about how technology isn't exactly the biggest, bestest thing in the world. Now, of course, like technology, like our lives depend on technology. Like if you told me leave my phone, I'd spit in your face because I can't leave my phone. No, like nobody can, let's just be honest. However, we can very well do certain activities that enable us to actually further our being and further our work and our productivity and all this stuff. And it just simply goes into two different things. So just simply having some kind of zones of silence. So what I do for this is, I said this on previous morning chat, but basically I go on the roof of my house at around sunset time and I just stare at the sunset and I have like a thought hour, just start thinking. And that's it. Like I just start contemplating, doing random shit. And that's it. That's like my zone. Also, like you can say the gym's another zone, just simply like doing shit. Just kind of like chilling there. And then also my morning routine, just having morning sunlight exposure, going outside and like creating my like alchemy of self. It's just about having zones of no tech where you're not really engaging with any technology. And it's like, it's not that technology is bad. I just want to make this clear. Technology ain't bad. It's bad for, like, you know, and of course, like, there are some bad technology. If you overuse technology, it is bad. Like, everyone knows this shit. But it's like, what I'm really trying to point out is, don't, like, don't be that guy who's hooked on his device 24/7. Don't be that guy who's just, like, sat there playing video games. He's, like, all fat and proper, like, fucking just floppy. You don't want to be that guy. You want to be more so taking zones and being more, like, it's almost like balancing it's almost like the internal, like, spiritual stuff, like the spiritual nature life, and then you have the more so technology stuff. And it's like you have to balance the two together. And it's like, it's just basically you do that by just like going outside a couple of times a day, and that's it. It's like, it's just that simple. And then the second step's just like dopamine detoxing. Just, you know, like I have a full guide on dopamine detoxing, but it's just simply cutting out distractions, cutting out like social media for a while, cutting out all these things, and just really like understanding that these things won't exactly benefit you right now. Like right now they won't benefit you. Of course, in the near future you will probably upload, like you'll probably just download them again. You'll probably use them again. But it's just understanding that for now at least, I don't exactly need those. And in fact, they're kind of harming me, and so I'm better off just not being on them. And like honestly, we can all agree that consuming shit on social media, it isn't good. Scrolling through a TikTok, it ain't good. It's fucking your brain, it's fucking up your dopamine, it's fucking up all that shit. I'll leave more to my dopamine detox full guide. I'll probably just like pop up somewhere there, and I'll also place it in the description or something. But just really understand that you need to be going on this, because it's honestly like, I mean, the guy who is on there he'll just fucking destroy you, man. Like honestly, like let's just be honest. But just basically have that in mind, and like watch that full guide after you're done with this one, just so that you'll kind of grow your understanding of dopamine detoxing. For this one, he talks about how technology is a wonderful servant. So he talks about how basically you can make money online. And I mean, of course, like this is basic shit for us. Like this, it's probably because he's just an old dude and he's like, he doesn't really understand that stuff. But yeah, I mean, he just basically talks about you can make money online. You should try and like make money and stuff. And it's like, it's pretty cool to like have this like side, like, you know, hustle stuff, whatever. Honestly, in my opinion, I don't agree with like this chapter, just because like, honestly, just focus on one thing. You either focus on fully like making your business, your like, of course, like if you're gonna start a business, you're gonna start a business online. It just makes brilliant sense. But of course, for him, it's like he's already working a career. He has like the degree and whatever, and he has to like fucking work on that. But for us, it's like we're pretty young. We can choose what we want. And so like, yeah, I guess it's just like, I agree with the part that if you're gonna start a business, you might as well start it online, because online is just better. But issue is, he's talking about, you know, you should be making multiple income streams and whatever. And it's like, you don't want multiple income streams. You don't want a side hustle, because these things will alter your work. They won't help your work. And so it's just about really, I mean, I agree with his second point. He makes a point about like searching for convenience. He talks about how you need to basically like, you know, like extensions, for example, you know, like making life a whole lot easier with technology. Those types of things are pretty cool. But for the majority, like for the major part, it's like, just don't focus on making like two income streams. You can like honestly just watch my entrepreneurship lecture. It'll probably just like make things a bit more clear on this. So now for focusing your attention. So for this chapter, it basically talks about how you need to always obsess over your goals. You need to be ultra obsessive, like to the point where you're like the wallpaper of your phone is your goals, where like you've got your goals written on a sheet of paper and it's stuck up on your wall, and you're looking at that 24/7. You're obsessing over it, where it's literally like in your like alchemy of self-talk, you're like literally, I'm gonna achieve this goal, I'm gonna achieve that goal, where you're literally visualizing exactly achieving each and every single one of those goals. It's just really like, it's just obsessing over them. It also talks about how you would be wise to ask yourself before doing anything, will this help me in any aspect of my life? So will playing video games help me in any aspect of my life? Not exactly, and so it's not really wise to be doing it. Now, of course, you can like do it occasionally. I'm just gonna be totally honest. Like scratch what I just fucking said. Fuck you. Like, just don't play video games. If you're gonna play video games, you're a bitch. I'm just gonna be totally honest. I'm probably just gonna be. I'm gonna sound off like a dick, but honestly, it's like you're a bitch if you're gonna decide to just play video games, 1 hour of video games or whatever. I'm just gonna be totally honest. I don't want to sugarcoat shit. I don't want to like just tell you like fake shit that I don't believe myself. I'm just gonna tell you like the truth and what I truly believe in. If you play video games, you're a bitch. Because you're losing your potential, you're not helping any aspect of your life, and you're just being a bitch. You're just, oh yeah, like I just want to play 1 hour of video games. Oh yeah, it's nice. It's like, bro, oh yeah, just for the entertainment. Like let me decode whatever. This game requires more fucking brain points than your hardest fucking eat that frog task. It's just stupid. I don't get it. It's like you're doing shit that won't ever help any aspect of your life, and you're just wasting your time on it, your effort, your brain points. It's just fucking strange, man. It's like, honestly, do whatever the fuck you want. I'm not gonna tell you what to do, but I'm just gonna tell you my opinion. I'm not gonna tell you, oh yeah, like play 1 hour video games. It's super cute. Like no, just don't fucking do that shit. I mean, he does talk about this. Refuse purposeless action. Refuse playing that 1 hour of video games. Refuse like just going out on the drinks when it doesn't even do nothing. Like, I mean, of course you want to decode and whatever. Probably not so wise to have that drink, because it's ruining your health, man. It's like, it's not so wise to have that stuff. It's not so wise to play that 1 hour of video games. It's not so wise to scroll on social media. It's not so wise to watch that Netflix episode. It's like, just have wisdom. Have like a natural, normal human brain that isn't hooked up to random fucking technology. So now for slice and dicing your tasks. This is a pretty fun one. So he talks about how basically you'd be wise to kind of, so he talks about like the Swiss cheese technique where it's basically just cut the Swiss cheese into 2 slices so you have more fun into actually eating the Swiss cheese. And he says you can do that with your tasks as well. So you can make your task into more so smaller segments where you slice and dice it. And so, for example, he talks about how when you want to learn a very complex subject, you slice and dice it. So you make it into this categorized like perfect algorithm where it's like, like the learning steps for business, like the types of business models, purpose, and then it's like the actionable steps and whatever, careers, like you slice and dice it into different like cups, and you just start drinking from like these cups at like whatever you're like interested in. And so really how you would use this is just simply you would use like the Swiss like cheese technique in your project. So you've got a very complex project. Well, you can slice and dice these things and make them a whole lot easier for yourself, and then you would actually just jump into them, like one piece at a time, one like slice at a time. And he also does talk about really being action-oriented, and specifically whenever you get an idea, like I do this still this day, I still like, this is something that you need to be implementing ASAP. Get one of those report pads. I wish I could just show you, man. They're basically just like small, like, notebooks. They're very small notebooks, like they're just report pads. It's just like a paper, basically it's like papers you can tear off, and it's like it's a very simple thing, really. Just have one of those on you at all times. Just basically have like this notebook on you at all times. Have basically like a pen or a pencil, whatever you want. Keep those on you 24/7. Whenever, as soon as you get an idea, don't never fucking delay. Just like if you're having a conversation, just literally tell the person, just wait up. I just want to write this down. And like people understand this stuff. It's fine. Literally just have this on you whenever you like have an idea or anything. Write that down ASAP. ASAP. Like literally get it up, write it down obsessively, and then like continue on whatever you're doing. This will allow you to have so much fucking ideas, and like it's just so cheap. It's just literally like taking 2 seconds and placing the idea in place. So now for creating large blocks of time. So basically he talks about how you need to be always trying to find ways to almost put your time in better usages, or to eliminate certain things you don't need to be doing. So for example, this conversation that you're having every single day with your parents, well, you could probably minimize. You probably shouldn't be having a conversation every single day. It probably becomes too lame and stuff. Why not have like 3 conversations instead of 7 every week? It's like, instead of having 7 conversations every week that are like 30 minutes long, maybe have like 3 conversations that are 30 minutes long. and that will actually like probably help your relationship in somehow. And then also it'll save you some time, and you can put that in better usages. And again, it relates to the karate thing. If you could eliminate like a chunk of time, just eliminate it. It's purposeless. It's just purposeless action. It isn't required. And he just talk about how it's probably wise to always count in minutes and make every minute count. So every minute in your day, you make it count. Don't count in hours. Don't say I have 24 hours. Say I have like, I don't know how much minutes a day. And literally just obsess over the fact that, okay, I have this certain amount of minutes and I need to be putting the minute into action. And I need to be putting 60 minutes into this action, not 1 hour, 60 minutes. Because your brain it doesn't understand 1 hour. It understands 60 minutes. Because it's like much smaller minutes. It's minute, which is where the word minute comes from. And so you might as well just use that as your thing to more so be action oriented. Now for developing a sense of urgency. This again relates to the Parkinson's law and how you should be setting deadlines. He basically talks about how in order to get into flow, you need to be placing urgency on yourself, which again relates to the Parkinson's law. You just set a deadline, you get into flow because it's really like at your level of like hard, and you just do the task. And so it's basically just about understanding that every minute counts and you need to be putting in the fucking work. And so you might as well set early deadlines and then actually like put in the fucking work. So now for single handling the task. So basically, this one just kind of talks about how you would always kind of want to complete the task 100%. You don't want to make a task, like basically like do a task till 90% and then it's like leave it. Like honestly, like I find this to be like pretty, it's pretty relatable when it comes to like recording courses. You know, like when you're recording a course, it's not really wise to like, oh yeah, I just want to record one module today and then I'll record another like the next day. You want to more so record the whole course on one sitting. It's much more painful, but it rids your hands off of it and it completes it 100%. You don't have to keep delaying. Oh man, I'm not really feeling like it. I don't really want to do it. Just do it once and then you're more likely to do it. Just single handle it. And so it's just about taking action, not really wasting time, not really like just procrastinating deliberately, and then more so trying to just being like, oh yeah, I won't stop till this is 100% completed. And only then I'll like just like go about my day. So right now it's about 8 p.m. I've been recording for like a whole bunch of while. I did like my morning routine, then I came back. But really, I'm not stopping till this video is complete. And this is the key mindset here. Like I'm literally implementing this and I'm showing you how this works. But it's just so simple. You just don't stop till it's 100% complete, basically. And then finally, just put all of that shit together. Now, I mean, of course, there are some things that you wouldn't be implementing. There are some other things that you definitely need to put into consideration. The majority of this book is genuinely life-changing. Like, genuinely, you need to be following all, like, these principles. Maybe just a couple ones that I don't follow personally. Like, you could even follow them. They'll probably work really well in certain circumstances. So just see your view on these, see what you genuinely resonate with, see what you can put into action immediately, and implement all of these. Like, genuinely, like, don't not implement these. I mean, I implemented all of these and then I saw, okay, like this isn't something that works for me. But till then you need to implement all these in order to actually see if this works for you. And that's why like really I say is just put them all together and do them all, implement them all, just try them all, try all these techniques and see how it goes. But in any case, that's the full guide. You need to be reading this book, man. You need to be reading this book. This is kind of like a summarization, but honestly, the book will, like, as the wording of the writer goes, like, it'll just spark a whole lot of ideas in your head. And honestly, it's just wise to just read that book. Like, honestly, it's like 120 pages, man. And, like, I read that in, like, what, a week or something? It's like, it didn't take much time at all. And so just read it, man. It's like, it's too easy of a book to just, like, be thrown around. Like, you can read that book genuinely in less than a week. I read it, like, 20 pages, I think, like, on one sitting, and I basically, like, ended up finishing the book. But it's way too easy. It's just, like, it's an easy book, it's a small book, but it's certainly one that's heavy with all this information. But in any case, that's kind of what I want to go through. I just kind of want to talk to you about my coaching really quick. So, if you're having any kind of problem, and you want some professional help, you want some help of your mentor or some person that you genuinely like admire, I can help you with this. So I can basically, like, me and you will hop on a one-to-one coaching call. and I can help you with whatever problem you're facing. And if you're interested, just basically like DM me on my Instagram. Like my Instagram is in the description. You basically just go to my Instagram and you just message me like, okay, like I want like just what is like the coaching call stuff, and just like I want a coaching call, whatever. We'll discuss things from there. But basically it's just, like I'll help you with whatever problem you're facing. You're having productivity problems, I'll help you with that. Like you want to like optimize for work, you want to like learn what businesses like are the best and stuff. I can help you with that. I can like teach you all these things one to one basically, or I can like basically I'll help you with other things. And of course I've got like mentorship as well. Definitely check those things out. Like just send me like a DM on my Instagram and I'll just send you info on these. But in any case, that's kind of what I want to go through. Definitely an amazing full guide. And I mean, honestly, this book's just fucking awesome. And like that, like, I read this book like a while ago, honestly, but it's like this book is genuinely one of those books. It's just fucking wild, man. It's just fucking wild, man. But in any case, that's kind of what I want to go through. And so I guess I'll see you in the next full guide, which is next week. I mean, I'm kind of doing these weekly, like just weekly full guides, basically. I don't know about like the system and stuff. I'm definitely kind of thinking of changing some stuff around. But really, I think we'll just have to wait and see. But in any case, I guess I'll see you in the next full guide.